You're not going to like this one. Learning how to bear discomfort is one of the greatest skills that you can develop in life. The answer isn't trying to get rid of the thing that makes you uncomfortable. It's learning how to stay with it. Whether you're struggling not to overeat, to stop texting someone, or to stop endlessly scrolling, recovery often asks us to stay with the feelings that we would rather forget, like anxiety, feeling a fear of failure, or that really difficult conversation that you know you've got to have. I know. I didn't like it either. It's so easy to miss it, but the moments that change us are the ones that we often gloss over. You know the ones I mean. The moment when you abandon that run, or you decide not to go to the class that you signed up for, or you reach for junk food thinking, I'll start the diet tomorrow, or you reach for your phone thinking, I'll just be a moment scrolling, or you decide to text that person thinking it won't be any harm. These are split-second moments, almost unnoticeable. But these moments, they shape our lives. Hi, I'm Shelley Treacher, a psychotherapist specialising in somatic therapy, anxiety, addiction, emotional eating, and relationships. Today, I want to talk about something that is quietly at the centre of every kind of change: bearing discomfort. Not always and not all at once, but just enough that we stop abandoning ourselves every time something feels difficult. Because what I know in therapy, and in my own life, honestly, is that people often hope that change will happen suddenly, like a big revelation or shift, like a massive transformation or change of personality. But change really most often happens in the tiny and incredible moments that nobody really sees. These are moments when your nervous system wants relief. But instead of giving into that, you stay with it for just a little longer. The automatic instinct of our nervous systems is to move away from something uncomfortable. That's normal. We all do that. But some of us have learned that discomfort is not only uncomfortable, it's unsafe. Uncomfortable experiences like loneliness, boredom, rejection, shame, or even stillness, need, uncertainty, or compliments. And so we learn really clever ways of getting away from this internal feeling. Overthinking, checking our phones, scrolling, watching television, obsessing over a Netflix series, food, compulsions, avoidance, fantasy. The problem with this is that the behaviour becomes necessity, even survival, and then the pattern becomes much more difficult to interrupt. That's why people end up saying, I knew what I was doing, I just couldn't stop it. It felt like something took over me. But when things really start to change is in those moments before the behaviour. The moments before you decide to leave the party. The moments just before you reach for the food. And the moments when you start to scroll. These moments are incredibly important because these are the moments where you give up on yourself. Because often underneath those moments and just before, there was a feeling that you didn't notice. It goes barely noticed. And you might have a drop in your stomach, a tightness in your chest, and you might have discouraging thoughts like, there's something I don't want to do or something I'm scared of. And in a split second, your nervous system unconsciously reacts and says, I need to protect you from this. And that's why learning to bear your discomfort, even a little bit, matters so much. Not because suffering is good, and not because you have to feel worse before you can feel better, but because if you don't learn to bear some of your discomfort, you're going to build your life around escape. I want to say this bit really clearly. Learning to bear discomfort is not about shutting up, putting up, and being miserable. Sometimes crying, leaving the discomfort, and asking for help is the right thing to do. This isn't about becoming punishing, rigid, or controlling. It's about building capacity. Building capacity is about noticing when you would ordinarily escape into comfort and pausing, lasting a little bit longer before you do. Maybe you stop scrolling for a moment and ask yourself what you're doing and see if you feel uncomfortable and stay with that for a moment. Maybe you stay at the party for 10 minutes longer and be curious about what made you uncomfortable that you wanted to leave. Or maybe you start that run, noticing that it's uncomfortable, but that you're bearing through it for a little while. And maybe you tolerate your loneliness before reaching out for someone. Maybe you still use the comfort, you just notice more. And here's the truth that you already know. The more we do this, the more we escape into comfort, the more our world becomes smaller. We stop going out. We stop making friends. We stop risking and doing things that are new. Our world becomes so small as we become more afraid of life. But when we start to increase our capacity for discomfort, the world opens up again. We become more tolerant. We make more connections. We try different things. And we get more enjoyment out of life and become more confident. Discomfort doesn't disappear from your life. It just becomes more manageable and less terrifying. Honestly, I think this is one of the most underrated and deepest healings in life. So if you recognize yourself in any of this, maybe become someone who's not just interested in the behavior and being hard on yourself because of it. Maybe become interested in what's happening before. In that moment when you convince yourself that you need to escape. And the thoughts that you're having, the feelings that you're having, the body sensations that are all happening. Because these moments are so much more powerful than you think. And learning to stay there, even briefly, can slowly change your life. If this meant something to you, you might enjoy my other videos, particularly the one on why we go back to the things that we know are bad for us. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon, but subscribe to make sure that happens.